All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Mindgasms. We got Parker back here again, and we're going to talk about what dating during COVID-19 is like for us. Very interesting topic for sure. So, why don't you start off and just kind of give your general thoughts about like what it's like and how it's different and that sort of thing.
Well, first off, before COVID even started, I believe that the game of dating was already kind of messed up.
Yeah, no shit.
And and I feel like COVID added an extra layer of I don't know, I like to call it a sickness that just people kind of in our generation have, but particularly young ladies. I feel young ladies have a particular brand of sickness that I don't know, I'm sure that dudes have it too, but I don't date dudes. So I haven't seen it,
Yeah,
but
but I've heard it from female friends that I have too. That guys are like that too.
this is the thing that I've noticed. Like before COVID happened, people were really shitty at conversations, and now because COVID happened, now it's like you're kind of relegated to just having these apps, and now I feel like people that would kind of sidestep you before are now forced to kind of make time with you. And then it's like, all right, so I've been out here for a minute and I've been trying to get my conversational skills up anyway. But what have you been doing during your time in COVID to actually prepare yourself to actually be out there on the dating scene? And I feel like young ladies kind of have gotten to a point where they're inside for a long time. And they have nothing but internet access as their form of communication. So it becomes this perpetuating thing where they're like, yo, why can't I get a man? All my girlfriends are out here saying that, they can't get a man either. And now we're all having this synthesized shittiness that's happening. And then when they get to you, the unsuspecting dude that has to date them, then you have to go through this extra layer of undoing all of the shit that they were inundating themselves with during the COVID thing outside of your presence. And it's nobody has a real sense of how people kind of are. And especially I live in kind of a tech savvy, tech big place. So a lot of people working from home. So it's people have this illusion of having real life interaction with one another, but in all actuality, it's this really weird, not real interactive kind of thing that people are doing. But they'll have this thought that it is. So when you actually go out on a date or you actually talk to somebody, you'll have this weird kind of space that you're in where you don't know where this person, what they've been inundating themselves with during the time. Like me, I've been doing a lot of meditating and shit like that. So I have found people that are like that and have done a lot of self-exploration, but I found a lot of people that have lost their mind because especially here in the States, because it's an election year and it's buck wild during election years. So that's in the dating scene. And then on top of that, COVID-19 has now been politicized. So it's when there's people that are chilling there and they're in their bubble and they're doing nothing but inundating themselves with YouTube videos that just go with nothing but their point of view. And then they get to you, then they're look, I've got great conversation skills, but I have a heavily slanted view and I'm not really willing to really talk to you. And I've had months and months and months to basically re-verify the fact that my position is probably the best position. So you have to deal with that too. And I don't know, it's I don't know. Like I said, it's a big sickness that I've seen. And I don't know what women are dealing with, but I know that me as a dude, I've noticed there's just a lot of not real conversations going on or qualifying conversations being I don't like Trump. That's the number one thing that I get. It's I don't like Trump, and I need to know how much you don't like Trump for you to get these panties, man. And then you'll be sitting there going well, wait a second, I don't even know if I even like you as a person. Who's to say that you even have panties worth getting? And you want want me to sit here and risk my time and my effort to like sit here and try to get, and like, don't get me wrong, like I've met some really great people, but at the same time, like I've had some really shitty conversations, mostly shitty conversations. And I'm like, I don't know, like I'm willing to believe that maybe like I'm an asshole in some senses, but I'm not so much of an asshole that like I see a pattern of things and it can't just be me. I don't know what you've been experiencing, but it can't just be me.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's interesting too. Like it seems to me, I guess like, at when the like the pandemic and the social isolation first started, I think it seemed like girls were really hesitant to date or anything like that at first, but then now it seems like even though there's obviously still COVID-19, it seems like people in terms of dating are kind of acting like everything is back to normal for the most part. Um, so so that part now seems the same to me as before, and it also seems to me like it's like there are different kinds of girls, kind of like, and I have to figure out what kind of girl the one I'm talking to is in the process of talking to her. It's like, so there there are chicks who only want sex, which I have no problem with, and then there are chicks who are like actually looking to date, and I can actually have conversations with them too. And like when it was my birthday recently, I went on a date with a girl I've been talking to, and it was really cool. We got baked and watched Tenet in the theater, which is a fucking awesome movie. That was really fun. So, and I mean, I know what you mean too in terms of like totally superficial conversations, because I've definitely been on dates or even just talking to girls before dates where you try to talk to them, but like you said, they haven't really examined their life at all. So like it's not really interesting to talk to them, because I'm like, well, what are you into? Well, I'm into like going on TikTok all day. I'm like, oh, okay. So like, what are your thoughts? Have you ever investigated like I don't know, like philosophy, or do you read any good books or anything like that? No, I don't read. I just really read what's on social media. I'm like, okay, well, you don't
And
really seem that interesting.
have you noticed that like usually when you go on those dates too, they're the ones that are like, yo, good conversation is a must, yo. And you'll be like, but what are you bringing? Like what I brought all of the conversation. What are you bringing? And then when
Yeah.
you ask that, then they like get like, how could you have ever? How could you have ever said something like that to me? I like you're definitely not going to get in these panties. I'm like, well, I don't know. I only like to get into panties of like ladies that are interesting to me. Like you're not making it sexy for me. Like you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
something that I've noticed just being out on the dating scene, and especially now, is like there's a desperation that's like now set in because like I'm like in my early 30s. So like
Me too.
the ones the the area where like women are kind of hard there was when they're in their like LeBron James years, when they're like in their mid 20s, and it's like, yo, like I gotta put up with a lot to get with you. But I've like noticed around like when there's ladies that are like around like my age, that's when it's like they go like, hey, it's game time. I'm noticing people aren't taking as much of my shit as they used to.
I noticed
And
that too. Yeah.
I've been locked down in this pandemic, and I need to find somebody to make this winter more pleasant because I know how the pandemic was during the start of the summer. So like ladies are making decisions right now. Like it's kind of funny that like it took a pandemic and it took all of these like different dating apps to come around for us to finally like be forced to have enough time to really self reflect and simultaneously go out there and like really think about what we want. And now I'm seeing like what people do with that time because like you said, like Either the people that are really lost stay really lost, or like you said, I've met some people that are like, I want a relationship. They've really sat back and like, these are the things I want out of a relationship, and I like have solid things that I want. So I don't
Yeah.
know. I mean, like I guess it's like a double-edged sword.
Yeah, definitely. And I relate to one of the things you just said there too about how sometimes. So I've definitely come across at least a few girls where I'm talking to them and they make it clear that they like want to connect emotionally and be able to have conversations with a guy, and then I ask them like how work's going, what they're interested in, and then they always give me like these one word dismissive answers. And then like there was one time where I was gonna go on a date with a girl I was talking to who was like that, and she was giving me these one word answers, and then she just totally bailed on her date, and I asked what happened. And she said, "You didn't seem interested." And I said, "I didn't seem interested. I answered all the questions. I was asking you about your day all the time. You were telling me."
Yo, like the same thing happened to me. There was this chick that was like all tatted out, and I was like, all right, this could be cool. But I'm like, when I look at somebody that's tatted out, like super tatted out, I think either one of two things: either this is real, or you need some kind of attention because you want to take away from the fact that you have a shitty personality. One of the two. So like we meet up, but like before we meet up, it gets kind of weird because she's not really giving me a lot of answers. Like you said, one word answers and shit like that. And she's like, "You don't really seem like you're that interested." I'm like, "Bitch, you don't seem like you're that interested. Like, what's wrong with you?" Like,
Yeah.
so I'm like, I give you the amount of energy that I feel is being brought back to me. And don't get me wrong, like if I agree to go out on a date with you, I'll do that just because that's fair. And like I'm probably just like fucking around, whatever. So I go out on this date or whatever, man, and like everything's cool all the way up until I make it clear. And like my outlook on dating is it's like I introduced the thought of fucking like not immediately, but at least 30 minutes into the date, just so I'm like, yo, like I don't want you to be like weird or like think that that's not what I'm trying to do. At some point, I'm not saying it has to happen now. I don't mind not fucking, but I don't like can't fucking. If that makes any sense, that means like if somebody goes like, "No, Parker, you cannot have sex with me," I go like, "Well, why am I dating you then? If that's the case, then like I was already not doing that. I could not date you and do that. So
Yeah.
um, so like we get to a point where like she's like we're talking about our workout program. She's like, "Yeah, you look like you're in pretty good shape," and I was like, "Yeah, you look like you're in good shape too. What do you do to stay in shape?" She's like, "I like to do powerlifting." So I was like, "I noticed because you got that booty back there," and then all of a sudden like you would have thought that I like whipped my dick out at the table. I'm like, wait a second, like why are you acting like this is strange? Like I thought we were trying to like have a regular date or whatever. And this is when I realized like, and COVID made me realize that like there's a lot of different levels of sickness because what she wanted was she wanted me to value her for what she valued me for. And I'm like, look, my sexiness isn't the same sexiness as you have, okay, darling? I'm sorry. Like, if you like for instance, she was like, I could tell that she was getting turned on by the fact, like, I'm like, yo, this is what I do. Like, I'm successful in my career, and I'm like really trying to become more successful in my career. I could tell she's like, yeah, that's cool. And she starts telling me about her career, and I'm like, yeah, your career is cool, but let's be real, that's extra, and I like
Yeah.
it, but you
Yeah.
know what I want. Like,
Yeah.
why are you acting like that? And then she was like, you're just like all the other guys. I'm like, yeah. Like, like
Yeah.
what? Did you think that it was gonna be like different? And I was like, I don't think it's bad. Like I did all of the nice things. I was like, yo, I'm gonna take you out to dinner. I will pay for that dinner. I will be real nice. But note that at some point in time, don't get weirded out when I'm like, yo, I eventually do want to like become intimate like that. And like and I found it kind of strange the fact that she like felt that was kind of strange. And I don't know if that's just a COVID thing. That's just like a general like I don't know what some people want out of the dating game in general.
Yeah.
And COVID brings to mind the fact that like people are trying to narrow in on what they want, but even when they're narrowing in, it's like this weird like, do you actually know what you want? Because like, because even as you know, somebody on the outset, like I don't want to be loved just for my body, but if somebody were like, I like your body too, I'd be like, all right, cool. Like I at least know that you're into this. What I have to offer, what my goods are, you like that. So if you express that to me, I don't get weird about it. I just found it strange that there's some people that do.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like, it was before the pandemic. I've had like a few experiences like what you're describing. Like, like I was literally sexting with this chick, and I took a screenshot of one of her pictures. Like, it was like a picture of her in her underwear, and then she like flipped out that I did that. I was like, why are you all mad about that? Why were we doing this if you get mad about that? I don't get it. And then also in terms of what you were talking about there, like what you're looking for, that sort of goes back to like what I was saying about how there are like different types of girls, in the same way that I'm sure there are different types of guys too. Like I can tell there are chicks who are only interested in sex, and then I have a similar reaction to you. I'm like, oh, okay, well that's good to know. I'm like, I got no problem with that. A relationship would be nice too, but I have no problem with sex either. But and then there's oh shit, I forgot what else I was gonna say there. But it was something. It was something about shit. I lost my train of thought there. But yeah.
Like I don't know, like just relationships in general are kind of hard to cultivate. And then you add in the fact that there's like this extra barrier, which I don't feel bad because it's like I feel like the mediums that they have for dating are advantageous for me because I don't feel like I'm a bad looking dude. So I feel like if somebody goes by my profile, they'll probably give me more chances than they would with somebody else. That might be a better person than me, but like, you know, they just look at them, which is kind of always in this cards. But I feel, especially for a dude, you have more chances to kind of like build up over time. Like, yo, you see me like in this area and like I do certain things and I can build up my game over days. And then I like plant that whole, like, I'm going to do what I need to do. As far as, you know, making my move. But I feel like now with the dating app thing, which is the primary way that you can kind of like get to somebody, like it's rough. And I've also noticed that there's tiers of people that I feel if I was in real life, I would actually have access to them. But then when you have something like a Bumble or a Tinder, it's like I feel like I put way more control in like the other person's hands of like how my game is. Cause I can like set it up where I'm like, I know I could be interested if I saw you in real life enough to get your attention. But because I only have a digital representation of myself, and I know that that digital representation might be good. Like I said, I feel like I look eyed enough to like get some hits, but like I feel like if I had that extra oomph, then I could probably get even like better hits even than I get now. Mm-hmm. So I think it's changed up the game, and it also has like made it so people that have whack social skills, especially women with whack social skills, can feel like they can like they have like more
leeway.
I guess more valuable. They're more valuable on the sexual marketplace than they actually are. Because the thing is, like somebody that looks good but has like nothing else, like they're not interesting. Like, don't get me wrong, you and I were both dudes. Were like, yeah, she looks good, and like I'll fuck her. But like, as far as like trying to like have that be my chick, like I'd be like, and we all know a dude that would probably still make that chick his chick, but it'd be like, we'd all kind of like look at him like, I know why you did that, but she's not really coming out a lot of the bills, is she, man?
yeah, definitely. Yeah, that I actually had something like that the other day. This chick seemed like really into me, and she was super hot and stuff. And then she's out of nowhere. She's like, "Can you send me a gift card?" I'm like, a gift card? I'm not doing that. Sorry, I'm not that kind of guy. You're talking to the wrong guy if that's what if that's what you're looking for. And yeah, I totally relate to what you were saying too, about the superficial nature of dating apps, and like how with COVID-19, because we're not really like going out in public as much as we were before, the like dating apps have become like pretty much the only way that people meet each other. So it kind of exacerbates that superficial aspect of the way you look at dating prospects. And like you were saying too, I've noticed this a lot before. Like, for example, back when I was a bigger guy, like when I was training in powerlifting, I was a 230-pound jacked guy, but I was also like muscular. Like I had a fatter face and I had like a bit of a power gut, and I had way less interest from women then, and than I do now. And then, like I said, this is an aspect that's sort of a double-edged sword, where I feel like I identify with some like attractive women sometimes, because like I said, I'm all like, sex is fun and I like sex, but it feels like sometimes, like I said, there are different types of women, and there are still women I like to date and I actually get along with, and that's great. But it sometimes at least seems like most of the women I end up talking to are only interested in superficial things. So it's interesting because it's like almost the opposite of what my experience used to be, especially when I was a younger guy and I had less experience and I was not as good at talking to women. So, and like you said too, like I feel like not to be rude, but like fat or unattractive women, like it seems to me like they're able to get more guys to talk to them than like fat or out of shape guys on dating apps. Like when I occasionally see guys like that on there, I'm like, oh man, I feel bad for that guy.
Well, yeah, like when it comes down to it, as a dude, like we all know, like you or I, if we're batting low, we'll go like, if there's a fat chick, right? Like it is a dating app.
Yeah.
Like, look, man, nobody even has to know about this. It's COVID, man. Like,
she seems interesting.
Like,
yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong. Like, and when you have a low self-esteem day, you even go like, yo, I will give this fat chick. Like, yo, what irritates me is I've had a couple of those moments where like you swipe on a chick that's like, look, this is me giving you mercy. All right. Like under normal circumstances, if I even saw you in the street, I wouldn't really like holler at you like that. But today's your lucky day. But you know what's crazy about that? Those bitches will fucking swerve you, man. They'll be like, yo, like, I think I deserve better. It's like, do you? Like, what did you do that made you think, like, why do you deserve better? And then when they go, well, you know, like, I have so much that's interesting. It's like, look, I know I'm talking to you right now. Nah, you don't. But the thing about it is I'm thirsty right now, and you have water that I need. So like, I'll pass it. And like, I'm not saying that that's everyone, but I'm like, yo, I'm one of those people that I'm a nice enough dude. I'm like, yo, even if I have that original thought about you, like if I will give you my genuine time. And if you are cool enough, I will be like, yo, I'm a person of access in your life. Do you understand how valuable that is? And women believe that too. But when you approach them with that attitude, especially in COVID time, they like, it throws them off. It throws them off because you're like, look, I feel like I have value too. And I'm just saying, like, my time is valuable. Your time is valuable. Like, what are you offering me right now? Like, other than, because, like, don't get me wrong, like, pussy is great, but that's like the bottom level of things that you can get. like that's like everybody's got that. Like that's one thing that I think is like hilarious about women, because like I never, as a dude, I know that every other dude has a dick, right? So I don't sit there and go like, and you know what's great about me? I have a dick. And then like, so, yeah. But like women will go like, and I have a pussy, see? And isn't that great? And then all the dudes will go like, yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And like, and it's our fault that they like get this level of arrogance, because it's like we will give up everything for that, but we don't value what we have. And it goes like, look, I have value too, and like I have what you want. It's like you have what I want, but don't completely rely on that. Like be bigger than that, be more interested than that. And like try to like my thing is like try to seduce me too. That's something that I've noticed women are not good at, seducing a man and keeping a dude around. Like what women are very good at, especially now, and especially with the way that like a lot of the socializing has happened, like with like Me Too and all that shit, is women are very good at like nagging to think that they're going to go towards getting something, but all they really did was just piss somebody off. Usually somebody else other than themselves will be like, and you see, I shamed them, and now they should feel ashamed and they'll change. And you go like, no, bitch, I just don't like you now.
You think that's gonna make me more attracted to you? That's gonna that always backfires whenever someone tries that with me. I'm like, why are you being rude to me when I just started talking to you? I'm not talking to you anymore. Bye now.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But like I've noticed that though. Like, and I don't know if dudes do it too. And I know dudes get to a certain point where they're like, I was a nice dude, and then they go like, you didn't answer the way that I wanted you to, so now you're a bitch. And yeah. I've seen those, but like the way women do it is like they'll be unpleasant, and then they'll be like, and you have to accept, or they'll like be belittling, or they'll be emasculating. Like that's the worst, is when they're like, oh, if you were a real man. I was like, I hate it when a woman goes, if you were a real man. I was like, when have you ever been a real man?
Yeah.
When have you ever had the pressure of being a man? Like, do you know what that takes? Do you know what that's like? Like, why would you say that? And I'm like, on the dating scene, especially now, I found there's a lot of people that are really, really comfortable with telling me what kind of like man I am. And I'm like, we haven't even met in real life, and you're going to tell me like what a real man does in your presence? And I'm like, you're single, so nobody's really met the test, right? So like all of these men are just, out of all the men that you've met, all of them have like failed the test, and you're saying that that's my problem. All right. But I don't think that's just COVID. I think that's just the times, man. Politically speaking, it's just the times.
Yeah, for sure. And I just remembered what I forgot earlier too. Like what we were talking about, like how some women, just like some guys, I'm sure too, have this idea of like exactly the type of man that they want, and it's it's sort of like what you were talking about. I found in my experience, at least, that it tends to be the case that when women are like that and they outline like really specifically what they want, like they want a man who is this tall, who has these things in his career, who looks this way, has these values, all that sort of shit. It seems like a lot of the time when they make that apparent, it's actually like that's kind of full of shit. Like when I actually get to know them more, I'm like, the guys you just told me who are the guys that you dated most recently are totally the opposite of the type of guy you say you're looking for. Like, are you looking for that because that's the guy that you've dated for, and it always ends up being a bad experience? And if so, why do you keep going back to that same kind of guy? I don't understand.
Like it all comes back down to, and that's why I'm like, I only mess with people that are trying to do self-expansion, because it comes down to your childhood and how well you really get along with that, and how well like your whole situation. That's like why when like they say women with daddy issues, like really easy to get, right? But hard to maintain a relationship, because literally like the father in your life is the person that shows you like all the emotional stability that you know. Like all of it. Like moms are great for like showing you how to nurture, but they don't show you like how when shit goes down, how do you handle that? How do you be pleasant during the times when, and like when you meet somebody that's really unpleasant, you go like they don't think of it this way, but that's like a social disorder. Like somebody that like sits up there and will belittle somebody, or will get like really aggressive at somebody that they don't know. It's like, think about that. That's like a child that hasn't been socialized properly. You're
Yeah.
like, yo, like, I don't know what you think is going to happen with this, but the fact that you think that this is going to get you something, anything other than disdain from people, uh, that automatically means that you're missing something, in my opinion. But I'm
Yeah.
not a psychologist or anything. I'm just a dude that's out here just like experiencing the dating world like everybody else. But that's what it seems like to me, at least.
Yeah, I would say I have a similar perspective too. It's sort of like what you've been saying too, well, what both of us have said a couple times, like especially the older I get, the more it seems to be the case that yeah, if hot chicks want to have sex, that's all well and good, but if this other girl wants to actually date, and like she actually sounds interesting and we have common interests, then that's more appealing to me, to like actually be able to get to know someone rather than it just being sexual, and maybe it could get more serious in the future. Like, and if people, like you were saying, it's sort of similar to what we were saying earlier about how like some people, some women, when you talk to them, they're like, it's like they're bad at communicating with people, and that they think it doesn't matter because they're so hot the guys will be interested in for that. And yeah, a lot of guys will, but not guys who are like gonna want to stick around, I guess, right?
Well, and the thing is it's like to garner. It's kind of like to be somebody that somebody wants to be around. You have to garner kind of like certain things within yourself. Like, for instance, I'm into like not just programming, but I'm into like longboarding. I'm into philosophy. I'm into all of these. If you ask me about certain things, I could at least. I have enough acumen to hang with you on whatever subject you want to introduce to me, and I want to stay in the know enough to be receptive to that. There are other people that don't think of that as being not just something as a personal enrichment, but something as a way of being a better person of service to other people. Like that's something that you should go into every relationship thinking. It's like, not only am I going to extract something from this person, but I need to add something too. And when people don't have that attitude, it comes out in ways. Or people will think that what they're adding is more valuable than it is, because it's like if a woman is pretty, right? It's like, yeah, that's fine, but A, how long is that going to last? And B, like, what do you do with that? Like, that's a tool. Like, it's a tool. Like, what did you use your prettiness to get to? There's some women that go like, yeah, and I was pretty enough that they gave me an opportunity to be part of like a research project because they just liked having pretty people around, but I really learned some serious shit from just being there. You know what I mean? And then there's other women that would just be like, yeah, like I was pretty, and I ran that shit to the ground, and now I partied as hard as I fucking could, and boy was it fun when it lasted. And that's whatever. Like I've never been a pretty woman. I don't know what that pressure is. That's probably got to be a lot of pressure, because I know especially when I was younger, like that's the best part about being in your 30s is like not being controlled by your dick as much.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. I noticed that.
Crucial. You'd sit up there and be in tears, like woman walks by in like a bathing suit, and you're 18, you're like, oh fuck,
damn.
oh shit.
I gotta go chase after her like I'm a bloodhound or something. Yeah. Yeah.
I can't even. You like start getting like the rapey thought. You'd be like, where did that come from? I don't even want to have that thought. What's wrong with me?
Yeah, definitely. And then the older you get, it's more like, damn, she's hot. And then it's like, I wonder if she can carry a conversation.
Well, more like this is like, yeah, she's hot, but I bet you she's crazy as fuck, because I've met.
Yeah.
Like there's no way she could be that good looking and not have any problems. Somebody had to fuck with her.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be a long one, and I worry about I don't know. The dating scene makes me worry about society, because I don't know. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of women that I've met, and as a matter of fact, like the young lady that I had a date with tonight, she was. I'm not gonna lie. Like I really like her. Like on a personal level, like I have wonderful conversations. Like she teaches me things, I teach her things, And like, it's a good thing. And like, it gives me hope. There's also the other ones where you go like, damn, you're out there. You don't even realize how much of an asshole you are. That's crazy. That's crazy. And somebody's gonna like, and this is what I don't like about unpleasant women, because you and I are both guys, and we know it's like, I might not take her, you might not take her, but there is some asshole that's desperate enough and will not give her the lesson that she needs. Like, I don't know how women this is one thing I got to give women. Women consolidate, and women have gotten to a point where like men acquiesce. Okay, they've gotten together, and like dudes have gone like, you know what? It's right. They've nagged us into submission. You're right. We're pieces of shit. We need to get to a point where we consolidate. And we go like, look, man, I know you think that like it's all cool to be that way and everything, but it's like not everybody's gonna put up with your shit. It's like Ray, what was the dude's name? The dude that beat up Rihanna. Oh, Chris Brown, right?
Oh yeah.
Chris Brown. I'm not saying he should have never hit Rihanna, right? All I know is that he's a bad boy, right? I really have never heard of anybody else like getting hit like that. I don't know what Rihanna said, but nobody, if you ask that question, that's automatically you're a bad dude.
Yeah.
But
even though you just made that clarification that you like he's a bad guy and he shouldn't have hit her, like you're not allowed to ask the question, well, did she like what did she say something? It doesn't mean she said anything that deserves her being hit, of course. But did she say something like fucking terrible that made him feel like he's just an awful person or something like that?
Like this is the thing about it. Like there's a lot of battered men in dating situations, like emotionally, because that's what women do. Like even in the dating scene, like when they're trying to like berate and belittle. And I've noticed this with like I had a conversation with a young lady that was talking about Trump. And me personally, I'm like, if we're going to talk about politics, I would even prefer us talking about it like this, where you can see my face, you see what I mean, you can see the message I'm trying to convey, and you see that there's like no malice in what I'm trying to say. And I'm really trying to get to a truth, even if it's an uncomfortable statement on the surface, right? So when it comes down to politics, if I don't like know you, like this is all via text message, and I'm like, yo, we really shouldn't talk about this. There's too much, and I can tell that you care way more about this than I really do. In the fact that you're bringing this up, right? And she's like, and basically she did and I noticed women do this a lot, and maybe men do it, but I just haven't seen this be the game. But she thought so much of herself that she's like, if you were like even entertaining this whole Trump thing, or if you even sound like you are, then I'm not a person of access to you. That should really worry you. I'll go like, I didn't know you before, so I don't care. You know what I mean? Like, why do you think that you were so special that I care that you don't like me now?
Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy too that people can get that politicized even with dating too. Like I've seen the both sides of that too. I've seen like girls who are super anti-Trump, and if you like Trump at all, then they won't date you. And I've also seen I've literally seen profiles on Tinder and places like that where some girls say, I won't date a liberal or a progressive. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, in both cases, you're like stereotyping people of different political views into like, this is what that guy is like, or even like if guys are like that, this is what that girl is like, which really doesn't make sense because people are individuals, whether they like Trump or hate Trump, whether they're a liberal or a conservative, anyone with any label can be a good or a bad person.
It comes from a lack of respect, really. And it's like if somebody's going to sit there and go like, I know your entire being because of your political belief, then that's just a narrow-minded person anyway. And it's not somebody that I would really want around in my circle. Because, I mean, like, think about that. Like, how can you sit there and say, if you have a political view that I have heard nothing about, like if somebody goes like, I really support Trump. And if I like go like I don't support Trump, it's like, but I have my reasoning. Let me just hear what yours is. Go. And if you can give me some good reasons, I might go like, why? You know what I mean? Like I might not get there with you, but I'd be like, from your point of view, I can respect that. You know what I mean? I'll never see it from that point of view. It's kind of like we have a case here in the States, in Ohio. There's, I think it was in Miami. I think it was a Miami school or something like that, but Miami, Ohio. I think it's Miamisburg, Ohio. But they had a couple of high school students that were going around and holding these flags that were supposed to be for Blue Lives Matter and the thin red line, which is firefighters and everything. And the reason why they did that was because their parents were firefighters and police officers. Okay. And I'm sitting there going like, I don't care what you think politically. Like I would say that I'm mostly on the liberal side. And like if somebody goes like thin blue line, I'm like, I think that's kind of dubious. But in that situation, I go, you love your family. You're waving a flag for your family. I don't have a problem with you doing that. Like I would be kind of a dick if I would sit there and make that political when you're just doing that to show homage to your family. You don't know any better. You just know that what was putting food on your table and is providing safety to your community is what your family does. And now it's gotten to a point where people go, oh, they need to be suspended because you know what they're doing. There's so many Black lives that have been taken by it. And I was like, literally, like, I mean, things are going on, but like understand where the kids are coming from. Have empathy. You want empathy, but you give none. And that's what irritates me. I get irritated so much when I see hypocrisy. And I see it in the dating scene where it's like, I hate the level of self-righteousness that I'm seeing with a lot of the people that are doing the political thing. That's like, oh, well, you know what? I'm so right that I know that if you believe these things, then you must be absolutely wrong. And if you're absolutely wrong, then there's no way you can be in my life at all. And if you're in my life and you're absolutely wrong, then you're just going to destroy it. And I was like, why do you think that you're even that big? Why do you think why do you think that you have such grandiose thoughts that they are above any kind of criticism, any kind of critique? They're beyond any kind of questioning at all. You should question your thoughts the most. And if you have somebody that can respectfully question them with you, then why wouldn't you view that as somebody that would add to your life? If you're that narrow-minded and you're like, I'm in this little box and I only want other people to be in that little box with me, like what kind of relationship can you even really cultivate anyway? And people don't understand that. And I don't know why. And I think, and that's why I told you about originally, and that's why I wanted to bring it back to this anyway. I said that people were going in and being in their echo chambers. So now they've gone into their echo chambers so much that they're bringing that into the dating world and they're acting like, oh, if you're not in the same echo chamber as me, you're morally wrong. And I know everything about, and that's what's making, I guess this time in COVID, more upsetting because it's like you're in a box when you're alone and then you go and then you have to be with a real person, just one person, not a whole crowd of people. You don't have a lot of reflections. So you've inundated yourself in this toxic kind of politicized environment. And then you go out and you meet somebody and you get a challenge and then you don't have a real grip on reality ever. And when you get somebody that gives you a little dose of reality, or at least not even reality, because maybe you date somebody that's within their own echo chamber. So you have these two warped realities that are getting together. And I don't know if that's good, if that's bad. I don't know what this is going to do in the long term. Yeah. I don't know what this is all going to mean, because I know that this is a blip, but it has changed things, and people are relying on dating apps way more. And I think it's become a comfort level that might just be the new normal. It might just be, we don't do any of that. I mean, it's become kind of dangerous to do that anyway in the workplace with the Me Too and all that other place and all that other stuff. So it's hard to get an organic kind of thing happening anyway. So it might just be like, yo, man, just to keep everything safe, man, like we're gonna do this digital thing, but by doing the digital thing, we're in an echo chamber, and it just makes people more polarized than ever. And I'm afraid that that might be the overall end game. And I know that that was long winded, but I just like it was a lot that was coming to me all at once. But yeah, it was that's what I really am fearing. I'm fearing that that's gonna be our future.
Yeah, I totally know what you mean, man. Like, yeah, it's not good. And like you were saying, if the like sets it when you don't have that like physical presence with someone, you can't read their body language or anything like that. You're communicating through only messages. It totally removes that level of empathy that and which, like you were saying, is also exacerbated by us having to like social distance and all that. And I totally identify with what you're saying just in terms of people in general too, about people like acting like they're on their high horse, and like if you disagree with me about this political view, then you're a bad person. This just literally happened with the other day. I won't say who it is because I don't want to talk shit about them behind their back, but one of my fucking family members literally blocked me because on Facebook they said they were like complaining about what J.K. Rowling said about trans people. And I said, of course you have a problem with J.K. Rowling's totally sensible comments. And then they blocked me. And then I'm like, this is a fucking family member. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, you can't have you can't even have disagreements with people. Like, this is kindergarten level shit. You should have learned in kindergarten. Hey kids, if you disagree with someone about something, it doesn't mean they're a bad person. If you get to know someone who disagrees with you, maybe you can understand their position better and understand that they're not bad people.
And people don't understand that, like, if you have kind of things like that, it's like you're gonna get to a point of like you're moving steadily and slowly towards civil war territory. It's like, oh, so you don't want to talk to me at all. And it's like, well, you might not want to talk to me, but I'm going to do what I want to do. And it's like, and then they're like, well, if you do what I believe is quote unquote evil, I'm going to have to physically accost, like you have with Antifa and you have with a lot of the BLM protesters now. They go, look, I'm so righteous in it that I know that I'm right, that if you even step one step against what I feel is the right direction, then I have the right to physically accost you. And that's when it goes like, I know if somebody physically accosts me, I'm like, I'm breaking your face. I don't care, because at the end of the day, like, a physical accosting is a physical accosting. And if you feel that you're so righteous that you can do that, or that that's going to even solve anything, yeah, it's going to be bad days. And like I said, there's a lot of people that are getting into echo chambers and just staying in there and thinking that they're righteous. And I find it repugnant that your family member would sit up there and would want to cut ties and go, yo, I know Andrew is my family, but I'm gonna let my temporary, that's what I hate about it. It's like the older you get, you go like, I believe this shit now, but like I'm probably gonna learn some other shit, and then I'm like not gonna believe it, and I'm probably gonna think that what I'm thinking right now is stupid. So why hold that hard on to, like, information like that? Because you don't ever really know the truth. Like, the truth is this grand scheming thing that has a lot of parts and tendrils on it, and it's gray, okay? And you do the best that you can with the information that you have, but you try to be nice to one another. And when you lose sight of that and you're like, I was so righteous, like, I hate it because there's a lot of these liberals that were like, I don't like Christians because they were just so dogmatic about the way that they did, and they forgot about how to be a good person with their belief. And I'm like,
that's what you're doing.
Oh my God. they took a belief that they thought was righteous and they took it to the umpteenth degree, and then they became assholes at the end of the day, but they thought they were really nice people. I don't know anybody that does that.
Exactly. Can you think of anyone else who does that? Maybe you? I don't know.
And I'm like, it becomes like this whole thing that is, I'm like, you've become so full of shit. You become the very thing that you were saying that you were fighting against.
Yep.
And I'm like, do you not read any like Shakespeare? Do you not know what a fucking Greek tragedy is? A Greek tragedy happens because people are destroyed by their own greatness, by their own ambitions, and that's what you're doing. You've become the very force in which you said that you wanted to fight against, like Antifa using fascist tactics, like being like strong arming people and shit like that. And then they're gonna, sit up there and say that, they're doing it to be anti-fascist. It's the same thing with like the dating scene. It's like, when you're out there and people are claiming to be, I'm so liberal, and this is something I live in a very liberal city, and I've seen a lot of these profiles where there will be young women that will be like, we need to agree on LGBTQ rights. We need to agree that Trump is a piece of shit. We need to agree that, and I'm like, listen, when I say LGBTQ rights, I'm like, do you mean like a right to like just exist or anything? I think they're just like anybody else. If somebody wants to challenge something that might sound offensive to them, I don't think that that's bad. I think if somebody wants to come up and go like, hey, I've got a question. If you want to chop your dick off, what's up with that? And if I think that they should be able to go like, my existence, like nobody said that you don't exist anymore. I just have questions as to why you wanted to do that. I have questions as to why you wanted to do that. I'll respect you more if you just calmly tell me. It's like, I'm ignorant. And then you know what else is like an irritating thing that I've heard a lot? Like the look it up. Like it's like I don't have the time. I don't have the time to tell you. And I hear that on the dating scene a lot too. It's like I remember this, actually the very same thing. The very same woman that I had that political conversation with. She started telling me about DACA, and I was like, I don't know anything about the DACA thing. Why don't you inform me of, DACA and what you know? Because I might have different information than you do. She's like, oh, you're so stupid. Why would I take the time out of my day when you should just look it up? And I was like,
I'm trying to get what your views are.
So not only are you a big enough asshole to sit here and insult my intelligence, but when I want to genuinely just understand your argument more, you like, and I don't mind looking at, if she had sent me a link, I'm like, I can read what you send me. If you're like, I don't want to get into the nitty gritty of all of it, I just, I don't mind that. Didn't even do that. Just goes like, just pompously and like, and I don't know how she said it because it wasn't a text message, but I didn't take it well, especially since I was like, I have a boundary in which I don't want to talk to you about this, and you're violating it, and now you're insulting my intelligence. And go like, oh, you should look it up. You poor dumb ignorant soul. How did you not know this?
How do you exist on this earth without having this perspective? I don't understand. How do you survive?
Correct. And I'm like, and I find that, and I'm like, dude, like, do you understand how big of an asshole? That's like if you were asking for directions, like let's say that I want everybody that does shit like that, I want them to ask for directions and then be really lost and a little scared. And the guy go like, oh, you came all the way out here and you didn't have any directions? What an idiot. Scared and shit. How dare you? You don't know where you're going? That's crazy.
Yeah. You don't have a sense of direction? Why didn't you look it up on your GPS after? Why would I help you? You're lost? It's your own fault. Sorry.
It's like GPS. Why don't you know where the fucking North Star is? Everybody knows where the North Star is.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I said, I find motherfucking people make me sick sometimes. They really do. And like, I don't know, on the dating scene, like the righteousness that I see, and like I said, I've met really cool people too that are just like mad chilled out, and this was just like, yo, I just wanted to have an expansive experience with somebody and just get to know new people, and that's beautiful. But then there's just a lot of people, and you just see how sick a lot of people are, or you see people that are so like stiff within like the way that their being is, that they like, I don't know, they're almost victims of life. And I kind of think that people that are righteous are kind of victims of life too, and the fact that they've kind of like lied to themselves so much to think that their position is unchallengeable. And I guess when you have to deal with it, and you're really thinking about a romantic partner, because I'm not going to lie, I'm 32 years old, and at this point in time in my life, like I still want to have my fun, but I'm like, 35. I'm like, I want to start like laying down and like having, start having kids and like have the marriage and like the house and all that shit. Just because, A, be nice, and B, fuck, what else am I doing? Like when I really think about it, I'm like, kids would be cool because I know a lot of cool shit, and I'm gonna die sometime, and I really like somebody else to know the cool shit
Yeah,
I know.
yeah, yeah. It's like we were talking earlier because I'm about the same age as you. I just had my birthday and I turned 31, so I'm about the same age as you. And yeah, like I was saying earlier, like the older I get, the more I think about, well, yeah, well, it would be nice to, like actually have a relationship with someone where we're friends and we help each other out and we build a life together. And yeah, like especially when I was younger, like in my teens and early 20s and whatnot, I just had the idea, why the hell would anyone want to have kids? And then like the older I get, the more I think, well, you know what? I think it would be pretty cool to have kids. I mean, I know I can't possibly know until I actually am a father how fucking unbelievably challenging that is. But every parent I've talked to about it say that, well, it's the most challenging thing you'll ever do. It's also the most rewarding thing you'll ever do, because you're teaching someone how to be a person, and then they go out into the world and you see what they contribute to the world, and it just makes you so proud. Like my mom has told me before too, like when I was born, the love that she felt for me when I was born was more intense than any love she had ever felt for anyone more in the entire world. And other parents I've talked to about that seem to feel the same way too. So, and like it just seems like ending up with someone and having kids and a family, that would be preferable to eventually just like, having random sex with chicks when I'm in like my 50s and 60s, and then just like eventually dying alone, right?
I think as you get older, and the concept of legacy is something that's big now to me too, where it's like I don't necessarily want to own a lot of things. I don't necessarily want to even touch a lot of lives, but I want the lives that I do touch to be like to have depth. And I would like one of those lives that I touch to be, like my progeny. Because one thing that I think is ill is I've seen, like I'm very close to my father. And I've seen now that he's gotten to a point where like he kind of like has this weird like admiration for me. And I kind of look forward to my son or daughter like being old and like looking up and go like, oh, holy shit, look at my fucking kids, you know what I mean? And like I can see that and I can feel that from him now, and I'm like, that would be ill to just go like, yeah, like I raised, and then they exceed expectations. And I don't know what my father expected of me, but whatever those expectations were, I know I exceeded them. And when you see that, and it almost makes you like proud. And like I even have to tell him, I'm like, look, I only got this because I got the work ethic from you, and I got all of these things. I got all of these things in place for myself because you taught me that these were like the things that a man needs to like get in place to have his dreams or his form of dream come true. And then when you think about the partner that you want, it's like I want somebody that is a lot of people want somebody that's kind of like them, and it's like I want overlap, but I don't want so much overlap that I'm not challenged. You know what I'm saying? Like I
Yeah,
would prefer somebody that's more artsy than I am. I'm artsy-esque, but I'm not like if it comes to hard science, I'm like I can tell you all the like hard sciencey shit about things if you want to know that. Like that's not interesting to me. If somebody offered me that, I'd be like, yeah, that's cool, but I like if you offer me some artsy shit, I'd be like, oh, that's so dope because you're into that. And like, I mean, like I'm into it ish, but I'm like more into listening to it than I am to actually studying that shit.
yeah, yeah. I
Like,
know what you mean too. Like it's good to. I think about that sometimes too. About how it would be great to. It definitely would be great, and it would be important to be with someone who has at least similar interests and similar values, but not the same. Because I would love to get interested in things that I'm not as interested in, and I'm totally interested in being flexible about my values and without totally changing them. And it would be nice too, like for example, I think sometimes about how I really like dating a girl who I can just like chill and relax with and have really interesting conversations and maybe like talk about books or something like that, and be like, especially because sometimes I have trouble relaxing, so it helps like it helps my for with my like when I'm hanging out with my friends or any a girl that I'm dating who are like or anything like that. If I can just if I can just relax with them, it really helps me relax more when I have like a friend or girlfriend or something like that who can just sit there and relax with me, and we don't need to always be going like on the go all the time, because I have that tendency to just be that way throughout the day, to just keep doing things to the point where I do too much, and then I end up having trouble like getting to bed early enough and that kind of shit.
yeah, it's kind of like having a sense of acceptance, and it's when you have that sense of acceptance, that's when you feel like you're home, and that's when you have that comfort.
Yeah, yeah, well said, totally.
Yeah, like I think that that's, and when you can cultivate that with somebody, like, and it's a certain kind of comfort. And that's what I think is also kind of interesting about the dating game, because you can have a comfort with somebody, but it's not it can be a not intimate comfort, because you have a comfort with your dudes that wouldn't necessarily have you like necessarily like fall asleep if they're around. You know what I'm saying? Like your comfort is like it's an intellectual comfort. It's like
Hmm.
I know if I say something that's like foul to the world, my not the world will understand it, but my dudes will understand it. And when it's like with with a lady that you're with, is like my girl, like the world may not understand like my vulnerabilities, and I'm not even saying that I necessarily show my girl my vulnerabilities all the time, but I know that she has an acceptance of who I am despite my vulnerabilities.
Yeah,
Okay?
yeah,
It's like having that comfort of going like, look, I know that like when I'm with you, I can take my cool off. Like I don't have to have like the swagger that I have to like, possess for the day to make it through. Like I cannot be I can be not as as defensive with you, or at least that's what you hope that you cultivate, but like sometimes that's not necessarily how it goes. As a matter of fact, that's a lot
awkward.
of the problem with the dating game now, because a lot of people are like so uncomfortable with themselves that it's like, could they ever be, is it me that they're not comfortable with, or could they ever really be comfortable with somebody at all? And I've seen a lot of character flaws out there where I'm like, I'd say the latter's probably true. Could they not be, they're probably not comfortable with anybody at all.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Yeah, that's an important aspect too. Like if you're not comfortable with yourself, it's going to be more difficult for you to be comfortable with someone else. And like you were saying too, it seems like a lot of people, like to go back to a few of things we were saying earlier, it seems like a lot of people like sort of live unexamined lives, and they don't even really know themselves that well. So they're not really comfortable, or they're not really even interested in like kind of finding out who they really are. So they're when they try to like be with someone else, it's like you can't connect with them on an emotional level because they don't really even connect with themselves on an emotional level almost, right?
Yeah, I mean, like a lot of people, and that's the one thing about COVID that I've kind of been thankful for. A lot of people put bullshit in their ways to like not have to have that examined time. And I mean, how many times are like people like there's so many things that people can just be caught up in, like it's porn or it's music or it's gossip or it's whatever, anything that you can to kind of like go, I don't want to sit back and really examine why I'm uncomfortable with my life, why I'm not making certain moves that like I might want to make. Like a lot of people have these grandiose dreams, and really all that's standing in their way is themselves. They'll be like, oh, I don't have the time. And it's like, do you really not have the time? Like, it's just your dreams, man. You don't have time for that.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think that it's fair though. That's a hard thing. Like even now, like I meditate every day, and I haven't gotten to a point of really understanding the depth of myself. I've gotten to a point of understanding there's more depth to be found in the fact that there's more challenges to see, and like I don't know how I will respond to all of them. I hope that I'll respond with grace and that I have enough, mindfulness that when certain things come about, that I'll be able to act in the best that I can. And I've acted better than I normally would at any other point in time in my life without meditation. But I'll say that as far as dating goes and as far as people that you encounter, it's just the dating world is still the world. And there's still characters that are going to be out there. And there's still going to be toxic individuals that, will want the same thing that you want or think that they want the same thing that you want, but they'll go about getting it in the not so great way. And you have to just watch out, and you have to be very careful about the people that you allow in your life like that.
Yeah, yeah, totally. And in terms of knowing yourself, to me, that's kind of like enlightenment in a way, in that you will like I don't th- I think anyway that you can never really like truly know yourself and understand all aspects of yourself 100%, but it's good to like endlessly kind of seek to try to understand yourself better, because then it can make you both accept accept the aspects of yourself that you like about yourself, which is one thing that I've had trouble with because I've had low self-esteem for a large portion of my life. So I learned to get better at that, and then I also learned to acknowledge and accept my flaws and work on trying to improve them, and just work on self-improvement, like both physically and psychologically in general. And it's just like sort of this like endless quest without being like obsessed with it, because that can make you depressed, but without like slacking about it and letting it go by the wayside either. It's a balancing act, and it's always difficult to figure out, but you can always work on trying to find ways to figure it out better.
And I completely agree with everything that you said, and I'll even take it a step further. When you actually understand yourself, you can actually have a deeper relationship with others because
Oh
now,
yeah, that's I was thinking about that too, actually. Yeah, yeah, for
well,
sure.
once you understand yourself, you go like, all right. So when I understand myself to this point, so why would I behave in the way that somebody else might be behaving? And then it gives you that connection where you go like, okay, well, if I was like them, well, I only really act poorly when I'm hurt or when there's something that's bad that's going on within my internal world. Maybe that's what's going on with this person, and then you can start asking questions why, and then like see if they're more open to discussing that. If they're not open to discussing it, it's like either give them time or let it go for the time being. But you need to have that understanding of yourself to really, it's like you need to be your own psychologist to understand the psychology of others.
Yes, well said.
Kind of like as Jordan Peterson says, clean your own room, and then you can start worrying about like maybe your community and everything, because you've made it so efficient with your own house that now you're like, okay, well, I've fixed these things in my own house. Let me start venturing out. So before you even think about evaluating, you're doing a great job in the fact that you're like, the main focus that you have is yourself. And you're like, hey, I always need to be down with this. And I need to be down with meditating and understanding where I'm at, because that's my vessel. This is what I'm going to be using to make it through this life. And if I'm using this body to make it through this life, what I need to keep in mind is the fact that this body is going to have different programs that I might not necessarily understand completely, but they're still programs that I need to be in control of. So you've got to have that conversation. And when you have that conversation with yourself, you kind of understand that other people's programs might be a little faulty too, or not even faulty, just not working the way that they even understand. And then it's like, and I don't know, it's made me more forgiving too, because there's been, bad points and times in my life where there's been individuals that treated me like really poorly. And that's why I get a little angry with the self-righteous thing, because I got the self-righteous point where I was like, how could they have ever treated me that way? It's like, no, they were hurt. They were treating everybody like that. You just didn't look at them long enough, and you just became a victim of what they were. That's all. Like, don't sit there and get mad. Like, they're a snake. Don't get mad because the snake bit you. Get mad because you didn't handle the snake properly.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, like if I guess to go along with your analogy, if a snake bites you, it's not going to really work to bite it back. If you bite it back, it's gonna keep biting you, and it's gonna kill you. So correct. if you like acknowledge that it's a snake, like run away from that snake. You don't need to be involved with it.
That's right. It's like, don't. It's like, why are you out here getting mad when it's like, don't get mad at somebody for doing what they've always been doing. Don't get mad, because like I remember I used to think, and that, like I said, arrogance upsets me because arrogance hurts everybody, especially the person that's arrogant. Because I used to be arrogant. I was like, I'm so special. People will treat other people badly, but they won't do that shit to me because I'm Parker. And Parker is just so special, and nobody would ever. It's like, why would somebody not? Like, what makes you so special? What makes you think that, like, when you've literally seen somebody do nothing but be unpleasant with people around them, why would you think that your time isn't coming? That's why, like, one of the cardinal rules of dating, right? Look at how they treat the waiting staff, right?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like, they start treating the waiting staff bad. It's like, let it be known, sir, your day will come.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's a good point too about arrogance. Like going back to how people are in their echo chambers, and if you have if you disagree with them, they're gonna like disown you and see you as a bad person. I feel like often, and I try to remind myself of this often too, because it's really challenging to do, but it kind of helps restrain me from like stooping to the level of people who are acting like fucking childish and insane about just opinions and ideas about shit. I try to remember that often when people are arrogant, it seems to often be the case that they're actually like they're using arrogance to cover up their low self-esteem. And so it's like they're overcompensating for their low opinion of themselves by projecting this high opinion of themselves. And then it makes them like more prone to just like increasing that arrogance because they have this like self-delusion. And then it just pollutes the minds of others because people, and I've certainly done this before too, people like get affected by that to the point where you have this knee-jerk emotional reaction, and then you just come off sounding just as arrogant as they are.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's why they say, you can't argue with a fool because the third party that's looking at it won't be able to tell the difference between the two.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
it's like that's why it's like Jordan Peterson had, and and this time I've also been looking at a lot of his lectures, and it just reiterates why I think he's such a great thinker. But he had a great thing that I think about a lot, which is don't waste your time if there's people that aren't going to listen to you, like because it's bad for both parties. It's like you're wasting your time, so it's bad for you, like because your time is valuable. So why would you waste it just telling a brick wall about something when they're not going to absorb it, and then they resent you because you're always trying to like get across a point that they're never going to absorb, and just let it be, just let it go. And my thing is I say what I want to say once to you, and then I go, look, this is just the way that it is. Take the information, do whatever you will with it, and then that's just do whatever you want with that. I can't tell you what to make of that. So that's the best you can really do for most people. So if they don't want to take your good advice, then
Yeah. Yeah, and that's like I said, that's a really hard lesson to learn that I have to keep reminding myself of all the time because I'm so I mean, part of it is that I get stubborn and I stoop to the level of people who are being assholes sometimes. But then like sometimes too, I just like without being an asshole or stooping to their level, I just really have this strong desire to try to understand these people better and why they're acting that way and try to encourage them to spread their ideas and their opinions without so much animosity, because then there's more of a chance that people will listen to them, like even for their own sake. If you try to communicate to people with an open mind and explain the underlying psychological reasons for why you hold particular beliefs, because we all have those, then you're going to be better able to try to convince people to go along with you. And if you just like alienate people and go into these echo chambers further, it's just going to cause more and more division, and people are going to get more and more like assholeish to each other, and it's not good for society in general.
well, it really comes down to cognitive ease, though, because what takes more time and effort? If I sit here and I like take the effort to sit here and actually listen to your whole argument all the way through, or would it be easier if I go, fuck, I can just cut all that shit out. I know what your argument ultimately is without listening to any of the nuance of it, and I can just tear it apart because clearly I know what it is because I know basically what you are. That's why I don't get mad when people get tribal or when people go into an echo chamber, because I'm like, it's just easier that way. Like it would be easier. My day would be so much easier if it was just like, as soon as I woke up, everybody went like, Parker, yes. Like that's just, like everything you said today, yes. And when you have everybody that's doing that, I'm like, hell yeah, that feels fucking good. But I'm like,
Yeah.
but it's not fucking real. Like
No.
during any other point in time in your life, when has everybody just sat there and just backed fucking down for whatever it is that you had to say? And people think that that's the way the life is supposed to be. But A, life wouldn't be fun that way. And B, like, who would even want to be right all the time? That would be fucking upsetting. I would hate to be right all the fucking time, especially with the fucked up thoughts that I have. I'm glad I'm about some shit. So, like I said, if you want to be if you want to have that cognitive ease, which we all do, then you go with that. You go with the echo chamber because it's like it's not expansive. It makes your life easier. And people like being right. It feels better to be right, and it feels better to be validated. It all comes down to validation. And if you can have more people validate you, and it's like intoxicating having so many people validate you and righteously validate you. Like as a black dude, of course I touched on like leftist politics because it's like, oh my God, I'm like a god to these people. All I have to do is just say something, and then you just elevate me and you make me feel so good. And everybody's like, oh my God, he's so handsome. And on top of that, he has these great ideas. And it's like, yeah, fuck the police. And everybody's like, oh my God, he said fuck the police. That's so great. Our nipples are hard. And everybody gets so happy. Everybody gets so happy, and we all like sync up our periods, and we all sing Kumbaya, and it all okay.
Yeah.
And that's what people want. And like I said, it feels so good. Like I said, it's like the sweetest taste to have so many people just go, you were right, you were so right. And then you ooze on it, and then you lose track of reality because it's not real.
Yep.
And then people don't understand that. It's like, look, man, there's no idea that's so great that nobody has something that's against it. Like, for instance, when people go like capitalism, I like capitalism. I don't like capitalism because it's good. Like, basically, the best way to describe capitalism is it's a shitty system too, but it's the best one we could fucking come up with so far. So,
like democracy.
Yeah, basically, it's like democracy fucking sucks too, but it's the best shit we've got. Like, at least somebody's got something to say about some shit, I guess. And then you just kind of shrug your shoulders and go like, yeah, and that's the best you can fucking hope for, right?
Yep.
So
yeah, it's like what you were saying earlier too. It's like, hey, hey, you have the right skin color. I should kneel to you and kiss your feet, right?
Yeah, that's right. No, like, seriously, man. Like, that's like, and then after a while, I was like, but what about the dude that has to do that? And then I was like, then you feel bad because I really do have empathy. And I'm like, yo, man, just because a motherfucker's white doesn't mean that I like have to hate him and make him like kiss my feet and shit. Like, that's fucked up. I didn't like that shit when it was like what I don't get is like how people can genuinely go like, I hate slavery. Those white people should be our slaves. I'll be like,
what?
I think slavery just sucks in general. Why would you want anybody? Like, that's fucked up, man. Why would you want anybody?
Yeah.
Like, why would you say anybody needs to pay for that ultimately? I'm like, look, man, all I want is just a fair shot. I believe it's pretty fair right now. I don't think that it has to come down to like people having to pay me like reparations or anything. I don't even know how you break that shit down. Because on the real, like Parker, like all that, my entire everything is like an amalgamation of just American. You can't say that it's anything else other than that. So if you try to say like, oh, you get reparations broken down, I'm like, well, how far back do we have to go? Because I'm more than positive there's probably not all the way slave and not all the way like not all the way white person or not all the way Native American or not all the way anything. It might like that's just and everybody that's here that's been here for past a few generations is like that. So it's like when you sit up there and you like you white people, I'm like, man, we're all pretty mixed, man. Like I wouldn't sit there and say there's anybody that it's anybody's fault with any of this. So that's why I think that just politics in general is just some fucking foo-foo lame bullshit. And I think it's even more foo-foo lame bullshit when you bring it into the dating game and you don't realize that that's like taking away from the human experience of actually getting to know somebody on a deeper level. And you're just putting more barriers in your way. And I'm like, why would you? I thought you came out here for love, man. Like if you coming out here for love, what the fuck does politics have to do for love? Donald Trump has never like come into my bedroom and like, hey, start fucking a missionary right now. I was like, man, it has nothing to do with me and you. He has nothing to do with that.
It's not like oh, you want to date me? Wait, let me call Trump and see if it's okay first.
Correct. Yeah. Not like you were like, oh, there's a mandate where like, now you can only get pussy on Wednesday. It's like, oh no, the only pussy Wednesday fucking mandate. Say it ain't so, Trump. Say it ain't so. Motherfuckers only getting pussy on Wednesday. God damn it.
Yeah, just like wanting everyone to agree with you the whole time too. That was reminding me of a South Park episode I watched recently where Cartman got fat shamed. So PC Principal, he was trying to get one of the other students to manage his social media to get rid of all negative comments, so he would only see positive ones. And every single other person in the class who he asked to do that chose detention over helping Cartman, or over doing this for Cartman, other than Butters, because he was too afraid of getting grounded. So he started managing Cartman's social media, and Cartman was like posting all this stuff. Yeah, I was feeling pretty buff. So I posted a picture and I got all these positive comments. Look at all these positive comments. And then it goes to Butters, and he's like fucking exhausted from having to stay up all the time to get rid of this fucking avalanche of negative comments that he gets.
Oh my God, dude. I don't know, man. Like, yeah. And that's what people want, man. That's what people really desire. And you know what, man? Like, what bothers me the most about the world is how cowardly people are. Like, because it takes bravery. It takes bravery to really challenge your thoughts and go, I could genuinely be wrong here, and I'm willing to listen completely to somebody else's argument and just go on the side of reason, or just go on the side of what I truly believe morally when I hear the entirety of the argument. Okay.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Like, I've just met way too many people now, just in my travels, that are, like you said, like a Cartman, that just want nothing but positive comments, and they want no critique. They just want everybody. And I'm like, I don't know. Maybe we got to a point where we didn't nurture enough, and people just never got enough positive comments anyway. So they just need an unreasonable amount of self-esteem, an unreasonable amount of validation and reassurance. And maybe that's why we're at where we're at. And then the more that I think about it, the more I think that that's probably true. I mean, like, this has to be a consequence of the every kid gets a medal generation, right?
Yeah, participation trophies.
Correct. You know what I'm saying? Like, and the thing is it's okay to want validation, and it's okay to feel validated. But when you don't get it, it's also okay to accept the fact that not everybody likes your shit.
Yeah, totally.
And
like some people, it can be infuriating sometimes, but you just have to accept that. Like almost everyone I interact with think that I'm like a good guy and I'm interesting and stuff like that. But then some people think I'm boring. And then every once in a while, I just have such different worldviews with someone where they think I'm an asshole, and I'm just like baffled when that happens, because everyone else I come across basically thinks that I'm like a nice guy. And then I just eventually come to the point, usually with those people, like, they're not worth interacting with. Yeah, maybe you have some common interests, but the way they communicate with people is just fucking toxic, and it's a total waste of time.
Well, this is anytime somebody goes like, you're an asshole, that just means you were a threat to something. You are either a threat to their thought process, you're a threat to if it's a dude, like, threat to their masculinity, maybe. If it's a woman, a threat to, well, that could just mean that they think that you're sexy. I don't know. Like, all it means.
Yeah, it depends on the woman in that case.
They wanted you to do, you didn't fucking do it. That's all. Like, when somebody calls me an asshole, I go like, God damn right I am. I don't give a shit. I was like, what's wrong with you? What's like?
Yeah.
Why do you think you're above? I hate it when
probably a better way to do it.
No, what was that?
I didn't catch what you just said there.
No, I said I hate.
You hate it when people. Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Looks like we're out of sync.
I think I might be getting a bit of a lag there.
Yeah.
You still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. Like I said, we're out of sync for sure.
Oh, okay.
Let's see.
But I heard what you just said.
I think it might be better
Oh,
now.
okay.
It might be. I'm not sure.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I totally get what you were just saying there, man. Yeah, that's for sure. It's hard to accept that too, but we all need to accept that not everyone's gonna like us. Like it would be, and to go back to one of the things we were talking about before too. I mean, like it would be boring if everyone liked us, and there would be something. I would think there was something wrong with me if everyone liked me, because like the only people who everyone likes are probably sociopaths.
Well, I mean, not even everybody likes a sociopath. It's just that sociopaths have no real personality. They just morph themselves to be whatever they need to be to get what they need to get. So it's
Yeah,
like
exactly.
so it's like they're just really observant and then they just morph themselves into being like what they feel they need you to be at that time, or they that you need them to be so that they could just ultimately take advantage of you, which I've met a couple of those in my life too. But and it's kind of shocking when you like when you have the sudden realization that they are, but that's neither here nor there. um no, I think the way that like people, I don't know, people want not just validation, but they also want to have this sense of being, I guess, a source of wisdom and a source of inspiration. And I think a lot of I think a lot of why it becomes very important for political views to happen is because political views are like the new religious views now, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So it's almost like that is a big thing if you don't align amongst like your religion. So maybe like that's why that's become so big with dating now, because now that's become synonymous. Like
Yeah.
I think a lot about Nietzsche when he said that God is dead, and he was
Mhm.
like going like, yeah, man, like now that we don't really have, we've gotten to a point of scientific knowledge that the concept of this ethereal God, this entity, is like almost ludicrous to the general populace. I think that he was kind of going, yeah, now what do we replace that with? And
Mhm.
I think we've replaced it with the politics,
Yeah, for
and
sure.
and now it's upsetting that people would let something that's not real and very temporary. Because I mean, we're everybody's like upset, but I'm like, even if Trump wins, right? It's 4 years. It's not like it's forever. It's not like it's this insurmountable amount of time. It's not like
Mhm.
it's going to be
Yeah.
like centuries and centuries and centuries. But I
Yeah.
mean, with Ruth Bader Ginsburg dying and like the fact that he's like probably going to be stacking the court, that really does piss off a lot of people too. But that's
Mhm.
neither here nor there.
But I
I'm
mean,
just
like he didn't destroy the world in his first term, and I mean, like as bad as he may be in a lot of ways, he's not. I would be I would be extremely surprised if he destroys the world if he is reelected.
no. Well, it's not. The thing is he's become this symbolic figure, and basically liberals believe he's like Satan. Okay,
Yeah.
he is like the incarnation of Satan to them, and it's like when you don't have a real Satan, when you're like, because there used to be a time where it was like, we got politics, but like legitimately, we're all just children of God, and it's all the United States, so we're all just together. And you're in Canada, so it's all Canadian here, a.
Hmm.
And it used to just be everybody, we don't care about your political view. We just go, look, we're all in this shit together. You might think a little bit different. You might have different ideas of what you think success is, but ultimately I want it to be good for everyone. Okay.
Yeah.
That was originally what it was. Now it's on this, like, if you believe this figurehead is good, then you don't stand for the same things that I stand for. And therefore, you are on the side of the axis of evil. It's almost like the equivalent of going like, yeah, Hitler, him taking over all those places like Poland and shit and France, that's, like they had it coming. Like it's like if it's like if you had made that argument, right?
Yeah.
And like they go like, what? How could you? And it's like, I can understand when there's people that, because I understand people that have like businesses, right? People that have small businesses love Trump because they're like, look, man, I was getting fucking destroyed with taxes just trying to feed my family. Now it's like, it's not so bad. And I'm like, okay, I don't own a business or anything like that. And I know that there's a lot of people that like have, jobs that have a lot of like, that are just labor and everything. But wouldn't you want to get to a point that if you had a dream, you could go, look, I just have a little bit of money. I have a great work ethic. I've worked shitty jobs my entire life. I just want to take out this loan. I want it to be easy and I can make my dream come true. And there's people that have actually said that underneath, Trump's administration, that's not my dream. But when people tell me that, I'm like, I understand your argument now. Say no more.
Yeah.
I can understand that. Now, when people say something about like, I'm going to vote for Biden because it's not Trump, I'm like, but like, why do you
have a reason to vote for
like
it? Like,
exactly. I'm like, what's your reason? It's like, well, he like, DACA. This is what kills me. It's like everybody's complaining about DACA and everything like that, and they're like, we got to vote for Joe Biden because he's going to bring that back. It's like, when did he ever promise that? I think DACA is going to stay gone, and you're just going to have Joe Biden in office, and that's just going to be what it is because that's fucking politics.
Yeah, and I think I like a lot of criticisms I've heard from, particularly from progressives, about Joe Biden, about how people, a lot of people who seem to be making the argument that you should vote for him, they seem to be saying that we can push his policies to the left once he's in office. And what I think makes sense, that I've heard a lot of progressives saying, is no one's been able to push him left yet, other than in his rhetoric. Rhetoric makes him sound like a progressive, but in terms of his policies, he's like, they've done the same thing. Like he and Kamala Harris together, they're like all about the fucking police state and like accelerating the drug war, and they're like Joe Biden's 1994 crime bill and all this sort of shit like that.
Oh yeah.
Like, he's not going to be the person you want him to be. He's Joe Biden. You've seen his fucking career of his policies and shit, right?
What I love is how the liberal media is like fucking destroying itself with how hypocritical it is. Because like you said, the crime bill, right? So do you know what Vox Media is? Like VOX? Like
That's if you got the online media outlet.
Yeah, and they've got
they're pretty progressive, I think, right?
What's up? What'd you say?
They're pretty progressive, I think, right? Is that the one by Ezra Klein?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know exactly what I'm talking about. And I hate them because they have this Netflix show, right? And this is how fucking arrogant they are. They have an arrogantly named show called Explained.
Oh, I've seen some of that.
So they're like, oh my God, me with my pea brain, I could never understand unless Vox explained it to me. But anyway, so Vox, right? Vox legitimately goes, this is, and has an article that was titled, "Why the 94 crime bill wasn't as bad as everybody says," like with Joe Biden, and he wasn't really involved. And I'm like, no. You can't fucking destroy reality like that just because you say, like, that's what I hate. I hate the fact that the media is doing like literal 1984 shit and going like, no, 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 no. I know that with your own eyes you saw this, but that's not the way it is. 2 + 2 = 5, motherfucker. That kind of shit.
Yep.
Like, and then you're like, wait a second, wait. That don't even make any sense. Like, shh. Don't ask all those questions, man. Like, we just explained it to you. We're Vox. We explain.
Yeah, we know.
Why are you asking all these questions? Shh, we explained it. Shut up. What, like Joe Biden? Like, I know that he says he's standing up for black people, and he just played Despacito in front of a bunch of Latinos in Miami.
It's like, yeah, I like Mexican people too, man.
I know he did that, right? But I know that there was a person of Cuban descent that literally said, "I don't want Kamala Harris to come into my restaurant. I hate that bitch." Even though those things happen, right? I want you to know that us at Vox, we want you to know that he is the only person that will stand up for your rights as a black.
Yeah.
Like, that's what like you know what irritates me the most about like what progressives are doing now? It's the soft racism or the soft sexism or the whatever of low expectation. They're like, look, we know that you don't read. We know that you don't have eyes. We know that you're too busy out there being, poor little Negroes and poor little gays and poor little women and poor little whatever other minority group you are. And we know that you don't pay attention, but we're going to pay attention for you because we know that you don't. And we're going to tell you exactly how you should think. Yeah. And as far going back to the dating, because I know we're going off the rails, I hate it when people fall into that and I go like, you fucking sheep, you fell for that. And you actually thought that you were pretty enough to indoctrinate me into the sheep like herd with like that bullshit that you bought into and like had no reason to. Like, as a matter of fact, you didn't even give me a reason why you think the way that you think. You just fucking like jumped down my throat and just said that I thought wrong. Like I said, that's what I get irritated about in the dating scene and that's why I get irritated about like how people can be so arrogant as to think that they have all the fucking answers. Like, it's like you don't.
Yeah, definitely. Like, well, I don't need to explain my positions because they're so obviously correct. And it's like, what you were saying too reminds me of that infamous moment that Joe Biden had where he said something like, if you don't know if you're black and you don't know whether you should vote for me or Trump, you ain't black. I'm like, what? Yeah. You're not black unless you vote for Biden? How's that even possible?
I was like, why is it that, and it's one of those things where like you just get more mad because it's like, why is it that just as a black person, you don't ever have the right to just be individual? Why can't I just be? Why can't I just go like, look, man, they always pitch it to black people like as a group, not like, hey man, we're just going to pitch some shit. And if you like have these kind of sensibilities, because we're all just people here, we're just going to go towards those sensibilities. Don't treat you like that. They go, specifically, we're going to get the black vote because black people they're just into Joe Biden. I was like, are we? All of us? I don't know. Like, I don't know.
Apparently,
right off the top of my head that don't like it, but like, are we? And like, why? What are you offering us? It's like, well, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. It's like, well, why should I vote for you? Well, I'm not Trump. That's almost, and I remember how Trump got eviscerated for going like, what do you have to lose? And then I'm like, yo, Joe Biden did the exact same shit, but because it's Joe Biden, everybody's like, oh no, man, it's not Uncle Joe. it doesn't mean the same shit when Uncle Joe says it.
Yeah.
I'm like, and
Uncle
my
Joe's
thing
got her
is,
best interests at heart.
and you know what upsets me? If somebody watched this, right, everybody would be like, yo, Parker's pro Trump. It's like, I don't even like that motherfucker, right? I'm just pointing out how hypocritical that shit was. I'm like, I don't like either side. I'm just going like, if you're gonna like sit up here and you're going to do one thing, I just go like, I look at hypocrisy. I hate hypocrisy. And if you're hypocritical on either side, I'm like, let me tell you why you're full of shit. And I'm like, I've seen so many times where I'm like, you're full of shit. And seeing that there's that many times that people are full of shit, how could you see that or know that and then be out on the dating scene and then base shit off of what's like can kind of easily be torn apart as bullshit and then get almost militant about it if somebody even slightly goes like, hey, I think that your position might be kind of wrong or misled, or it's like, no, it's not. I don't like anybody that even says anything slightly good about Trump.
Did you like it when he, I mean, admittedly as a political posturing move, because he still ended up adding more troops than he removed, but did you like it when he removed troops from Afghanistan? No, because Trump did it. Oh, okay. So it's bad to be anti-war when Trump is anti-war. I see.
Basically. No, like, and I'm like, dude, you get so triggered. You can be a political pawn anytime. I'm like, yo, they could basically put anything under your nose and go like, well, Trump would win. It's like, okay, so we're gonna like start a nuclear war with China. It's like, what? It's like, well, Trump doesn't want it. It's like, okay, that's okay. Nuclear war with China sounds great because Trump doesn't want it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like I don't understand people getting. And my thing is I'm like, I don't even, like I said, I don't even like the dude. I just have a reasonable dislike for him. Like when you have a reasonable amount of dislike for him, it's like have you ever had somebody that you like don't like, and then you talk to somebody that like doesn't like them a lot more, and you're like, whoa, like we go like, yeah, like Rodney does kind of double dip in the onion dip, you know. I don't like that. It's like, yeah, that motherfucker also fucked my wife. We should kill him.
Yeah, that's exactly what it's like. I'm like, wow, Trump is like a clusterfuck, and he's all about being a selfish opportunist. But then I talk to someone else, and they're like, he's literally Hitler. He's trying to engage in mass genocide. I'm like, what? What the fuck are you talking about, man?
Yeah, you're like, yeah, he did say that really stupid shit, and that was kind of bad. And I don't like the way he's representing our country. Yeah, he's basically the Antichrist, and that's when you go like,
yeah.
Like, whoa, wait a second. I don't like him, but like, whoa, what are you? That's some different level of hate shit, man. Like, I'm like that. You know what I'm saying? Where like, you start calling people up like, oh, we need to watch Roy. He really doesn't like Rodney.
Yeah.
How deep that shit was. Like that's like, you know,
that murdering this guy, man. We should keep an eye on him.
Basically. Well, the big thing that I've been thinking about lately is that Kyle Rittenhouse thing.
I didn't hear about that.
Kyle Rittenhouse was this kid. Did you hear about the Kenosha protest?
Yeah, I heard about that.
Okay, so like, remember how there was a gunman that was there?
Yeah.
Okay, Kyle Rittenhouse was that gunman.
Oh, okay.
So when I watched the tape, I was like, at first I was like, oh shit. Like with the way that CNN had reported it, I was like, oh shit, a dude just came in and like was just like firing on people. That's terrible. So I see the tape. So Kyle is running away. He's running away from a dude. And no, Kyle has a gun in his hand. He's running away from this dude. The dude runs up on him and grabs the gun. And I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, if a dude's got a gun and he's running away from you, I'm thinking all you have to do to like not get shot is just like, I don't know, not chase him anymore.
Yeah.
So, like right there, I'm thinking this is dubious. And I'm like, and you grab the gun. And while they're grabbing the gun, right, everybody's yelling, get him, fuck him up, right? So I'm like, if I had a gun and I was there, and no, this is what everybody says, and he wasn't in the right with this. He was a 17-year-old kid that was carrying an, a semi-automatic gun in a state where it is illegal for him to have it. Okay, that's not right. At the same time, I don't know if you should really give somebody a motherfucker that's carrying a gun like that like a reason to shoot you. So, needless to say, dude grabs the gun, he caps the motherfucker, okay? So, after he kills this dude, there's other people that are running after him, and he's running away, all right? And so, one dude, he kills another dude, but this dude was trying to, like, he falls over, this Kyle Rittenhouse dude falls over, and he like shoots and he shoots this guy because he's about to hit him with the skateboard. So he's about to like brain him with the skateboard. And another dude comes up, but he's got a pistol in his hand and he shoots him, but he shoots him in the arm. And I'm like, and everybody's like, he just opened fire on everybody. And then I was like, look, man, you're right. Shouldn't have been there. Shouldn't have had the gun. But if it was really a peaceful protest, really shouldn't have given anybody a reason to like get shot. And I saw that tape, and I'm like, kind of gave him a reason to shoot. I'm just saying, kind of gave him a reason. I'm like, what do you think he was going to do? I'm like, if I had a gun and people are like trying to like do bodily harm to me, I'd try really hard not to use my gun, but I'd be like, I've got a fucking gun. Like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah. Like if someone's like you said, it's not like what he did was wrong. But if you're like if you have a gun and someone is trying to grab your gun and someone else is trying to hit you with a skateboard and you're getting chased by people, maybe your restraint is going to be kind of like reduced there and you're going to get worried and be more likely to use the gun.
Well, what really sucks about it is he's used as a political pawn now, because now they're saying he was like a militia member and like from what I understand, the kid was like working. He was actually in a different state, so he was in Illinois, and he lived in Illinois, but Wisconsin is like on the northern border of Illinois, so he would drive into Wisconsin to do his job, and he was in Wisconsin with his AR because he wanted to defend the store that he worked at. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Because it was like because people were like, it gets live with these Black Lives Matter protests. Somebody's got to be out here to protect the store. So he stays to protect the store, and I think he just kind of like had the AR to kind of go like, look, like don't fuck with the store. I have an AR. Like was probably just going like, I'm a kid, I've got an AR, but like they won't fuck with the store because I've got an AR in front of the store, and they still fuck with them. And I was like, I don't know, man. I guess you learned a valuable lesson. I guess you found out you weren't fucking bulletproof, you idiot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it's sad. Like that's why like in any of these protests, like I think it's a bad idea, regardless of who you are or what side you're on. It's a bad idea to bring guns there. I mean, like even if you're the only person with a gun and the cops have guns there too, because if you bring a weapon to someone else to a place where other people have weapons and there are also cops who have weapons, that's just a recipe for fucking clusterfucks and disasters. And it sounds like that's what happened, to just fucking clusterfuck because people brought guns to an already really fucking pent up situation.
Oh yeah, and the thing about it is it's like people are going on pure adrenaline, and it's like you can basically, it's that righteous thing again, okay? People can feel righteous because they're like, I'm doing this to make a difference. This is for Black Lives Matter. And if I go buck wild for this, then it's completely within my rights to do that because this is for such a righteous cause. And now I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know if I hate it when people have like a quote unquote righteous cause. Like what's so righteous? What's so righteous that like you could start subjugating people, that you could start like we're talking about with dating, like make it so it's so tense that like you're starting to weed people out on like almost a religious basis where it's like if you don't believe in the same like political gods that I do, then I won't even like come in contact with you. And then it's I don't know, like all of this has become a very draining year, and the process of dating is already draining, and it's become even more draining because we're dealing with echo chambers, and some people are inundating themselves in echo chambers, and some people are trying to, I guess, become more than that. But even in becoming more than that, it's you still succumb a little bit to the echo chambers. I mean, I know I'm aware of them. I'm trying to get out of my own because now I'm like in a conservative echo chamber because I disagree with the liberal side so much. I need to start watching more liberal shit to kind of like get back on balance.
I kind of try to balance myself out with like the political YouTube videos that I watch. It just happens to be the case because of the people that interest me that like almost every day I watch a bunch of shorter videos from mostly progressives, and then I watch I watch a lot of I watch some longer podcasts with people who are more like libertarians or anarchists or conservatives, and I feel like it helps balance me out that way because I get these different contrasting perspectives. And it's interesting that like it tends to be the case that when these people across the political spectrum that I follow, when they agree about something, that's usually what I agree with them all on. Like all of them who I follow seem to think that the reasons that people are protesting are totally justified, but they're getting out of hand, and this like regardless of what side you're on, people should stop getting violent towards each other about their political views. That's one thing that I think is really common across the political spectrum, other than if you're like, I mean, the only people who are against that are people who are like people who are I even see being denounced by other progressives, like saying these people who are going and being violent at these protests, that's fucked up. There are other ways to address these problems.
Well, and also when they do these protests, they're like, well, we want the police to be defunded. And I'm like, well, what do you mean by that? And it's like, well, we just don't want you to give them any more money and allocate the funds to like, and I'm like, listen, I don't know what you mean by that. Like, is there any kind of like legislation that you want behind that? Is there a representative that you're talking to? Is there and when you like break it down as granular, like that's when I get upset when people like that's what I want. And it's like, well, do you even know the process to get any of that going? Or are you just out here to just like fuck shit up and just be like, I'm real mad? And
it seems like it's mostly the latter.
That's right. I'm like, it's the latter. It's like I'm out here to fuck shit up and be real mad. And I'm like, all right, well, if that's what you want your movement to be, then it's like I don't want to. I mean, I wouldn't put my name on that. But that's just me.
Yeah, me neither. Well,
Joe, man, it's getting a little late.
Yeah, actually, I was just gonna say, I kind of think I would like to end it here now, if that's cool with you.
Yeah,
I guess we're kind of ending on a negative note, but that I guess to add a little positivity there. I mean, this like the situation with what's going on with dating and political division and everything else too. it helps. I mean, you can choose to use it, help you appreciate your friendships and your relationships with people you know more. So that makes me appreciate my friendship with you more, and all of my friends. And it's great to talk about this stuff, because you can just sort of we've been doing sort of a lot of venting and just
Mhm.
discussing how this is good. So yeah, as always, it's a great conversation with you, man, and I appreciate it.
Oh no, I definitely appreciate it too. I appreciate the depth of the conversation that we have, and yeah, I definitely enjoy having banter with you, and I enjoy the fact that you wanted to have me back on. So yeah, thank you very much. I
Yeah.
always great. It's always a pleasure.
Thanks, man. And yeah, we'll talk again soon when we'll eventually be doing that chat with Sean McCoy about that series on Hegel's aesthetics that we're gonna start to do some do a deep dive into philosophy. So that'll be exciting. And
Yes, yes, it
yeah,
will.
and yeah, we'll figure out what next book we're gonna talk about when we do the next book chat with Dusty there too. So that'll be fun as well. That one about the stand was certainly awesome, and
Yeah,
I'm going to. So yeah, I'll just say what I like to say at the end of my episodes here, and then you can say any last words you want to there before we go. So like I always say, thanks to all of you who watch this and add a comment to it to give us your thoughts, especially if you want to get mad at us about some of the shit that we said. That's always good. And like I always say too, thanks to those of you who subscribe to the channel, hit the like button on the video, and especially to those of you who give me money on Patreon, which I really appreciate. And like I always say, I love you all. Keep being the tiny beam of light that shines through the almost impenetrable darkness in the universe. And most importantly, remember this: the funk cures all, and groove is in the heart. And stop being so concerned about political division. Try to remember that we're all people, and we can disagree about stuff. It's okay. All right. So, anything else to say before we end it there?
remember to love your haters because they're your biggest fans and your biggest motivators.
Well said. Well said. All right. Adios until next time, everyone.